Wouldn't it be nice if we had more time? I don't know if there's a person in this room who hasn't wished at least one time in their life that there were a few more hours in the day. I don't know if this story is totally true. Maybe it's just something that college kids say to each other. But when I was in college, I had a couple friends who told me a story about a guy they went to high school with. This guy had some skills in hypnotism. And so what he would do is he would record his own voice going through a hypnotist routine, and then he would play back the recording, listen to it himself, and in a sense, hypnotize himself into deep sleep. And because he could do that, he could sleep for just 4 hours a night and have just as much rest as us mere mortals who have to sleep 8 hours a night. I don't know if you know, but when we sleep, we don't get into deep sleep right away. We go through a number of progressions and sleep cycles until we get to that deep restorative sleep. He could skip all that and go through 4 hours of deep sleep. Now, I don't know if that story is true, but doggone it, when I heard it, I was jealous. Like, how great would it be if you only had to sleep 4 hours a night, to have at least 3 or 4 more hours in your day? To be fair, I actually did try to do that in college, not because I have hypnotist skills, but because I'm a moron. And maybe you also have tried to sleep not enough and found out that it doesn't really work for you. You need to sleep. You can't just manufacture more hours in the day. But we kind of wish we could, right? There's so much more we could do if we had more hours. I think some of us take that concept of wishing there were more hours in the day, and I think we sort of fantasize about it, right? What if there were 26, 27, 28 hours in the day? What would I do with that time? I think others of us, though, we actually start to get super practical and say, okay, I don't have enough time. I got to start cutting stuff out of my life. And we try to manufacture more time in our life. But can I tell you something? That won't work. It won't work because Jesus says it won't work. And maybe you've never read the text that we just read in this context, but Jesus is really getting at this idea that if we want to have a restful, unhurried life, it's not about more hours, whether we fantasize about them or try to practically input them into our lives. It's about how we view those hours, how we deal with those hours. That's the real problem. Let me show you. Let's go back and read just the last couple of verses of the text. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." They're beautiful words, right? Maybe you saw them lovely cross-stitched in your grandma's washroom or something like this. But if you were a first century hearer of Jesus' words here, you might have had a bone to pick with him. Because for us non-agrarian modern people, a yoke is something that comes out of an unethically sourced egg that we bought from the grocery store. But for them, a yoke was a very common tool of farming. Maybe you know this, a yoke was a piece of wood that you would stretch across the necks of 2 oxen with U-shaped rings in order to pull a plow through a field. For them, a yoke was a symbol of hard work. So hard that you needed 2, not 1, 2 beasts of burden stronger than human beings in order to accomplish that work. So can you imagine how this rung in the ears of the first century hearers of Jesus? Maybe to put it into our context, when you're weary and burdened, what do you feel like you need? A couch? A bed? A hot tub? A Muskoka chair facing the lake? But Jesus says you get a yoke, which maybe, again, in our modern terms, Jesus would say to us, if you're weary and burdened, come work long hours with me. And we think to ourselves, what? That's the problem. I'm working long hours, Jesus. I don't need more long hours. But Jesus says, you don't get it. It's not about the long hours. It's about your yoke. Every one of us has a yoke. We have things that we carry through this life, the burdens and responsibilities and opportunities and goals and dreams that we have for our lives. We all shoulder these things. What Jesus is saying is, it's not about how you do this, it's about what is the yoke. What is the way you deal with the things of your life? And what Jesus is trying to tell us is it's not about the amount of hours, it's about how you view those hours. This answers the question that I very often get when I'm trying to teach this idea of ruthlessly eliminating hurry to people. Some people will say something like, well, that's a great idea, Pastor, to ruthlessly eliminate hurry, but I have to work 2 jobs in order to pay the bills. Like, I'm not trying to get a Bentley here. I'm just trying to make sure I don't go under. Because I don't know if you noticed, but Toronto's a super expensive city to live in, and inflation is like 45% or something, so I need to work like this. Or maybe they might come to me and say, yeah, that's great, Pastor. I would love to ruthlessly eliminate hurry and find some just restful, peaceful time in my life, but I'm a mom of kids. I don't know if you noticed, but kids don't rest. Jesus' words are exactly for you. He's saying it's not about how many hours you work or how hard you work in those hours. In fact, he says, being with him, the thing that is restful, the thing that is light and easy is a yoke, it's a burden, it's a work implement. But it's different from all the other ways that we conceive of our lives and the responsibilities that we hold in those lives.